There we are. We're live. Okay, we're ready. Okay, I'd like to call the Strategic Planning Committee meeting of Tuesday, August 10th, 2021 at 5:31. It's held electronically and transmitted via council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan, as per Ministerial Order M192. And we are holding our meeting on the unceded territory of the Subots First Nation, with whom we all work, play, and live. And we thank them for that. Are there any introduction of late items? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the minutes, the agenda as presented? Sorry. Yes, I'll take turns. Councillor McGonigal, Councillor Sandu, all those in favor? And carried. I'm wondering if we would like to leave the strategic planning summary, executive summary, until after the delegations, because we know Rosalie has been notified she would be on. Is she on there now? How does everyone feel? Do you want to do the delegations first? Yes? Yes, no? Councilor McGonigal?
Sure. Yeah.
Is
I
that
don't
okay?
see her there yet. But...
Okay, because I had a couple of things on the summary, but I wanted to ask about. So if Rosalie's ready, there she is. And Rosalie is with Social Planning Cowichan regarding the Moving On Up Cowichan Lake Poverty Reduction Project. And she has the final report ready. Hi, Rosalie.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Before we start, Rosalie, I just want to congratulate you on all your work you're doing as acting mayor and the emergency situation that you're dealing with. I know
Thank you.
Mayor Sebring left you in the fire, so to speak. So you're doing an amicable job. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've all been very lucky that it's been contained at the 32 hectares and the boundaries being held right now, which is excellent. So fingers crossed, even with this hot weather, we still don't see an expansion of that. Thank you, appreciate that. So are you ready for me to start? Or?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
sure.
Great. All right, I know I have 10 minutes, so I'm gonna do my best. And I will share, oh, can I share my screen?
You can translate it back to me, Rosalie.
It says the host is disabled participant screen sharing.
If I can get it, okay. Bear with me. I don't want to do it. Okay. Okay, the host now.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. I will share this. So can you all see it in just the presentation?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Just going to minimize so I don't see myself. Okay, well, thank you very much again for your time tonight. I know it's summer weather, we all want to be outside, but we're really excited to be sharing this, the final project here. We wrapped up with all of our engagement around June when we put out a summary, and so this is the final strategy and recommendations that we've put forward based on that community engagement. I'll get right into it. Our agenda tonight is just to do a very quick project overview, as I know I've been here before and you've heard all of the intro stuff about the project. We have the engagement activities and outcomes to share with you. We wanted to just share what we heard around what is poverty locally in the Cowichan Lake area. And then we have the final poverty reduction strategy report. So we have a strategy at a glance to share. And then we'll get into the poverty themes and community actions that came out of the engagement, along with recommendations for moving forward after this strategy, now that it's complete. And then, of course, any questions. Do you prefer questions during or at the end?
It's up to you, whatever you want.
Okay, if anything burning comes up, feel free to just interrupt me. Otherwise, yeah, maybe at the end would be easier as well. So just a quick intro, the funding for this strategy came from the Together BC plan that the province of British Columbia put together. And so out of that, they had $5 million over 3 years to support local governments to come up with their own individual local strategies, recognizing that everyone has unique challenges within their communities. And so while there is a broad overarching provincial plan as well as federal plan, having your own unique plans as well will help to really get help their plan, of course, come to fruition over the years. So we've completed now the stream 1 part of the plan, which is putting the plan together and an assessment or the strategy. And then stream 2 offers up to $50,000 to complete some of the actions that came out of the plan. So that would be the next step moving forward. We had a variety of goals and outcomes going into the project, including development of the plan and specific actions that Cowichan Lake area residents and council can take. And that also we would have that create that buy-in throughout the process and have community support because they see themselves in the plan. We also wanted to build community, share education around what poverty is and how people are experiencing poverty locally. We wanted to reduce stigma around poverty as well as discrimination around it. And lots of relationship building among peers, so people with lived experience in poverty, as well as within the community and among Indigenous and non-Indigenous residents. We also wanted to ensure that community services and organizations had a chance to participate in this and also learn from the engagement and the outcomes of the project so that they're able to fill any gaps and hear what the needs are as they're arising within the community for future service providing future services as well. And then of course applying for stream 2. During the grant process, we selected all the areas because we know they're so interrelated. So we look at housing, we look at family, children and youth services, education and training, employment, income supports and social supports. And we also added in transportation, food security, mental health and addictions, access to healthcare, and then that overarching climate change, which does disproportionately affect those as we see with these heat waves this summer. You know, people living in poverty will have a greater impact around that. So in developing the plan, the first thing we did was established a working group, and you'll see the list here of everyone that participated. So we had membership from each of these organizations. These working group meetings took place approximately once a month, sometimes a little more frequently, sometimes less, depending on where we were at with the project. And they really did guide the engagement process. So giving, having those really fulsome discussions around how poverty impacts people that they see within the community or themselves, as well as, deciding what best ways we can move forward with the engagement strategy. So that was really helpful along the way, especially during these pandemic times. So what we did also is we identified 3 peers who came on board to actually do some interviews. We were able to pay them an honorarium to do that work and also promote the project within their networks. We also identified a huge list of community champions that each working group member put their name beside to reach out to, and again, ask them to help promote the project and participate and potentially do interviews themselves using the questionnaire to engage people they knew that may not be able to participate, especially online. So that was helpful. Throughout the community engagement process, we did, make sure I don't forget anything here. So we started out with the questionnaire, and that was available online, and hard copies were also available at the town hall, as well as community organizations throughout the town. We did lots of communications, both online as well as in social media. We did traditional media through the Gazette, and the Citizen also picked up our articles as well. And we did a mail out as well with everyone, 2 mail outs, I believe, throughout the process, trying to get people engaged both in the questionnaire that we had online as well as virtual community conversations. So we hosted 2 sessions online where people could join in, learn about the project, and then share some of their experiences. And we hosted some dialogues around the impacts and potential actions people wanted to take. We put a summary of all of our engagement activities together and then put that back out to community for their feedback to make sure we were on the right track of hearing what the impacts were and what those actions could be. And then we put all of that into this final plan that we're going to discuss tonight. Inclusive to that, we did some research and review of existing plans, so both regionally, provincially, and locally, and identified any gaps or areas that were really robust, actually, in a lot of the areas that came up as the poverty themes and action themes, and just amplified that throughout the project as well. So that was really helpful. And then you have the draft strategy before you. Final steps will be to get your feedback tonight, make some final edits, and then we'll be able to send that off to UBCM with a final report. So our community engagement outcomes are, we saw about 15 people participate in the virtual conversations. We had 80 participants do the questionnaire, and we did 15 interviews all total through our peers, as well as some additional interviews took place just with people who are working in the community to identify, what services were available and what service gaps might be that we can identify to incorporate into the plan as well. And so for those who like percentages, here's what that looks like. 13.6% of participants did interviews, 13.6 did the virtual conversations, and 72.7 participated in the questionnaire. And here's a look at those who participated just in location. So we did try to we did call it the Couch and Lake area project. So we included area F and area I, as well as we have a singled out Massachusetts Lake there. And then of course, Lake Cowichan. So that was really the bulk of the input that we got, but we did get some participation from the CVRD local areas as well. Annual household income is listed here. So we see the top 3 bars, all under 40,000 a year. Some have multiple people, may have multiple people working in the household as well. So really seeing that the bulk of people, especially when you're considering family incomes, are below $80,000 a year as their household income, and quite a large percentage really of below the 10,000 and below the 20,000. Here are the age demographics of who participated. So 82 is our highest age on the survey. Average age was 54 years, and the lowest was 16. Primarily, people were female who participated in the engagement strategy as well. And so just getting into what we heard as poverty was defined throughout this process. We know that poverty is very complex, that really does exist on a spectrum. Living in poverty is much more than simply not having enough money to make ends meet. It affects all aspects of life, including where a person lives or what they eat, what they can do socially or for their health, how they cope, and how they can provide for themselves and their families. It does exist on a spectrum. We know that people living in poverty are resilient and they're creative. While many people equate poverty with homelessness, it does exist on that spectrum and is mostly unseen or hidden. Many people feel the stigma of living in poverty every day. They may be too embarrassed to ask for help or feel they'll be judged for asking for help. And so, we do have a proportion of the population who just who are feeling that disconnect from society. They're feeling that shame, they're feeling that fear and exclusion. So that's something we really did hear throughout the project.
Just one, it's been 10 minutes, so I'd like to see if the rest of council would like to go another 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
That's all right.
My summary wasn't so summarized, was it? So moving on to the cause, poverty also causes mental stress. There's often hopelessness or poor health, either mentally, physically, or emotionally. And there's often, that loss of dignity or poor self-esteem that can come into play, and just not having that energy to really take care of yourself in really a well-rounded way. We heard a lot about that. But the purpose of this project and these conversations is that we want to make a difference in people's lives, and we know that people out in the community want to help and do that as well. One of the questions that we asked throughout the questionnaire was, what do you need for a happy and healthy life? And a majority of those responses included health, feeling safe and secure, having friends, family to rely on, and having that connection to community with a sense of belonging. So we really wanted to reflect that feeling and those sentiments throughout this plan. And so you'll see that we really took that to heart and wanted to bring that forward with the actions that were suggested. So getting into the strategy, here's the cover page of the strategy. And before we get started, I just wanted to quickly note that, huge gratitude to everyone who participated. We really did have a lot of candid feedback. People really were willing to share their experiences and their stories. And without that, we really wouldn't have this fulsome plan you see before you. So really thankful for that. And to everyone on the working group as well for putting in so much time and effort also. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of the 8 poverty and community action themes that were summarized. And then, we also heard from both the working group and throughout this process that the Cowichan Lake residents are really focused on actions. And so that's why you'll see the themes that we heard of impacts of poverty, along with the actions put together throughout both the summary report we put out earlier, as well as this final plan. We really wanted to be action oriented. So the strategy at a glance starts with a vision and values. The vision was that we are a caring community where everyone lives a vibrant, healthy life, feels valued and connected, is supported, and can contribute to our community. And then the values were inclusion, diversity, empowerment, collaboration, connection, equality, and working together. The guiding principles that we were able to put together was empower those with lived experience to direct and prioritize the local actions, provide inclusive care for everyone, build strong relationships in a supportive network, share skills and learning to build resiliency among all age groups, and identify root causes and whole cost accounting for investment. So really thinking through, what are the costs that we end up paying if we don't provide certain services, or if we don't take care of some of these themes, what are the other costs that we'll end up incurring? And here's the list of our 8 priority themes and community actions. So the first was to create affordable housing options and improve living conditions, improve transportation options, increase local employment and education opportunities, improve access to healthy food, access to complete healthcare and mental health and addiction services and supports, fill any gaps in the community with infrastructure and services, support mental, physical, and emotional support, and alleviate pressure to meet basic needs. So moving into the first one, I'll just do this, what the actions were. So for creating affordable housing options and improve living conditions, there is lots of great ideas that exist in several plans. As you know, we have a housing needs assessment that was just completed as well, which is great timing for this. So we've kind of funneled it down into 3 main themes, which is establish a Cowichan Lake area task force to develop a strategy to move affordable housing options forward as identified in your OCP. Implement changes to bylaws that support affordable housing options, such as secondary suites, rentals, and multi-unit housing, which we already saw quite a few things listed in your OCP already, which was great. And then establish a rental bank and develop protections for local renters, such as rent control and local advocacy for tenants and landlords. There's lots of comments around people struggling who are renting, who felt very vulnerable in their living situations. Either they didn't have livable conditions, or they just felt, with the housing market, anything can happen, and then there's such little available on the market right now. So that was quite prevalent in the feedback. Under improved transportation options, we heard consider undertaking a walkability study and establishing a local carpooling or rideshare program, and then advocate to increase public input on the BC Transit Future Action Plan and complete recommendations in the Active Transportation Network Plan. So we saw that were just working or just finalizing your transportation network plan, which was great timing, and that also BC Transit is currently underway taking engagement as well. I don't know if it's ended already, but it was taking place previously. And so we were able to get some of this feedback, some of the really detailed feedback we got around transportation into that engagement, which was great. Around increasing local employment and educational opportunities, we had developed local employment training programs in partnership with VIU. So really kind of expanding out from Duncan and Nanaimo into the Cowichan Lake area. Advocating for guaranteed universal income and support for local businesses and employers to provide livable wages and benefits. And then other offer incentives to encourage hiring of those with disabilities or employment barriers. Under improve access to healthy food, we put together expanding and coordinating community food services, including the food bank, community garden program, school meals, meal sharing, and food recovery programs. So there's all kinds of things happening around food that does exist already, but really expanding that and coordinating more of a coordinated access. Develop food skill building programs and grow the number of volunteers who support local food programs. So again, really just expanding that out of what already exists. Filling gaps in community infrastructure and services. The first was establish wraparound services to help lift families out of poverty, including access to internet services, washrooms, childcare, legal aid, life skills, and job finding. Secure funding for a community advocate role to connect community members to services, and then establish a youth center for young community members to connect. Under improve access to complete healthcare, mental health and addiction services and supports. We realize there's, for smaller communities, it is tough to get some of those larger city center services out to those smaller communities. So we tried to take that in mind when we were putting this list together, and came up with work with Island Health to bring affordable mental health and addiction services to the Cowichan Lake area, whether that's a satellite office or how that might look. Make services available for low-income individuals by subsidizing alternate health practitioners, alternate healthcare practitioners, and ensuring adequate transit. Ensure that necessary agencies use trauma-informed care, so making sure that they have proper training around that, and developing a directory of available mental health services. So one thing we really did here is there's lots of services available locally, more than I think people expect. And so really being able to highlight that and make sure people have access to that as in some kind of directory. And the next section was to support mental, physical, and emotional well-being. So just understanding that there's this general overarching feeling of stress, really, when people are living in poverty. And so the main actions here was to increase connection across socioeconomic divides through community events and expansion of interrelated services. So Cowichan Lake area has been great in the past for, hosting community events where people can come out, lots of free opportunities for families and seniors and individuals to gather and be together. And obviously COVID has put a big damper on that over the last year and a half. And so really trying to get back to that as we can to build those community connections back up. Reduce stigma and discrimination against those living in poverty by hosting community awareness building workshops. So that's something else we can do. And then expand affordable recreational activities by establishing a community fund for youth and low-income families to access. So one of the things we really heard from folks is that if they have extra income and they want to be able to share it, but they didn't really know how. So that could be one way, you could help somebody join a soccer team or a baseball team or whatever that is, or just access the rec center, right? So those were kind of the things that people had highlighted they'd like to participate in. And the last, to alleviate the pressure to meet basic needs. So one fun thing that really took off is people shared stories of back in the day when, we do a barn raising and, the community would come out and help one another. So getting back to that where locals can connect and share time, skills, funds, and goods. So if they have something to share, but also enabling people to feel comfortable to say, this is what I need. Can someone help me? And then someone can also provide that help. And the last was establish a community fund to support individuals and families with emergency rent and utility subsidies. So there is a small program that United Way funds locally, but this would actually help to amplify that and give that opportunity to folks who just might need help a month here or there. And then our final recommendations at the end of the strategy, we just have, how do we move this whole plan forward? So include poverty reduction recommendations into your strat plan. I know that you've been working on that, and that's what the purpose of this meeting is tonight. To continue the Moving On Up working group, but also expand membership to include people with lived experiences, seniors, youth, Subosset members, and others from CBRD areas F and I. And then any subcommittees that may be required if they want to take on one specific area within this plan, it would be great to be able to do that. And so everyone can take a smaller bite of the larger pie. And then using a collective impact framework to achieve community change to end poverty. And so what that looks like is really just having that shared agenda, being able to move forward together, having a shared measurement and understanding how the progress is moving along, build on mutually reinforced activities, and engaging in communication. So just having that a person or organization be the backbone to that, and then pushing, ensuring that everyone's working together with that shared agenda. Other recommendations include applying for the Stream 2 grant, so the $50,000 to implement some of these priorities. They do have some requirements listed specifically on what actions they will fund, and so we definitely can find some in there. Identify additional grant opportunities or investments, work with other partnerships, and develop that evaluation indicators and measures as we move forward. We added in consulting with Subassit Nation as well, especially after your MOU was signed and developed, just to see how or if they might like to participate and in what capacity. There is additional funds for First Nations to do their own poverty reduction strategies through the First Nations Health Authority as well. They may be interested in that. And last but not least, identify the ways that success will be measured and achieved. So there's lots of different ways to do this, and it can get quite complicated. So we didn't really want to include that in this part of the strategy. We just didn't want to be that directive. So, looking at ways to measure and track through outcomes and indicators that are linked to the local actions and activities that will take place coming out of this plan. And then also identifying cost-effective ways that the need for services can be quantified more intentionally, so as to have that rationale and justification of services needed moving forward. And last but not least, Island Health will be, fingers crossed, is trying to do a Cowichan Valley-wide pilot study to develop healthy community health indicators. So that will help us be able to identify how we are doing as a community and then measure from there. So it'll give us that baseline moving forward. And last but not least, thank you so much for listening to my extra ramblings and for supporting this really important work. It was wonderful to have both Councillor Austin and Mayor Day participate in the working group, and it just shows real leadership that we had that participation and that you were willing to take on this strategy in the first place. So really want to give you all a shout out on that. And I will stop sharing, and I see that Barry O'Riordan is also wanting to join the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosalie. Any questions from Councillor McGonigal or Councillor Sandhu? Councillor McGonigal.
First of all, thank you very much, Ms. Sowery, for presentation. Very in-depth. I think one of your first slides said that poverty is complex. It's complex and a multifaceted topic that is difficult for some people to wrap their heads around. Yeah. And difficult to identify fringe poverty needs. So you spoke briefly about priority themes, and one of the avenues for funding is through the UBCM $50,000 secondary grant. But I'm sure there may be other opportunities for funding availability through different ministries that you may be aware of. As you know, as municipalities, our only avenue of revenue is property taxes. And to burden that upon property taxes on the reduction portion may mitigate the problem or exacerbate the problem, if you know where I'm coming from. So we'll be looking to senior levels of government to help us move forward with these strategy implementations. Do you have any suggestions on ministries to approach for those funding opportunities?
Yes, and so throughout the actions in the broader strategy, we did kind of identify who could be involved in those specific actions, and so that does identify different levels of government that could be involved as well. We also wanted to really highlight the things that community can do that wouldn't necessarily include a tax increase. So we one of the things we obviously heard is that people's taxes are going up, and that's happening everywhere. And so, yeah, really thinking about, not only what can community do together to really move some of these things forward, whether it's volunteer hours or just a better coordination of how activities are currently already taking place. But then also, considering what resources are available and how they maybe can be redistributed in a more equitable way around community services as well. So there's different ways of doing that for sure.
Great. And a follow-up, if I may, Madam Chair. You spoke also briefly about a rental bank, etc. And I know that through United Way, there is some help. And through the Couch and Housing Association, there is also a rental coordinator. One of the things that was mentioned was secondary suites. And I think there's a misconception in our community that those are not allowed. But they are allowed in some zones within our OCP. And that may be something that we look at encouraging in the future. The opportunity for sustainable rental units, whether it be in secondary units or rental only zones and new developments, for instance, which I've discussed at length trying to move forward. But there are some options to have that affordability portion within rental zones, etc. So just understanding that legal secondary suites are allowed within zones in the town of Lake Couch, and that may mitigate some of those rental complexities. So thank you again. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if I may just respond, I 100% agree. I think a lot of people, there are misconceptions of what's allowed and what isn't allowed. And again, looking through your OCP, there's lots that you're doing there that that people just might not be aware of. I don't know how many of you have read an OCP without being an elected official, but my number's 0. So yeah, I guess communicating that out or spreading the word a little bit to help people really think about how they can, mitigate their own incomes as well and offer that really needed service for increasing that rental stock.
And again, thank you and the working group for all the work you've done.
Councillor Sandu.
Thank you. Under your support of mental, physical, and emotional well-being, the last bullet was expand affordable recreational activities by establishing a community fund for youth and low-income families. The Couch Lake District Skating Club dissolved earlier this year, and we've allocated just over $5,000 to go in trust to the Duncan Skating Club. So for any families that want to register their kids in skating, 50% of the registration fees will be covered until the funds are run up. So we'll be advertising that. So it's just a little something just to help families, that now that we don't have a skating club in our community, that there will be some funds available to them. And there'll be no criteria other than that they have to be living in the Cowichan and Lake area. So area IF or the town of Lake Cowichan, but we'll be advertising that. So
that's excellent. Yeah. And again, I think what we've really heard from people who are able to kind of contribute to that sort of thing is that they want to. So
yes.
If there's any way to even offer people to contribute to that fund to keep it going,
yes,
that might be something to explore.
We'll talk about that for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Good. Thank you very much. Anything else? Well, it was a great lots and lots of work. You certainly did a wonderful job, and I'm pleased to see it come to fruition and move on to the next step. So thank you again. And I guess we're done with that for now. Clapping
Great.
hands or
Thank you.
thumbs up. Where's that thumbs up position? I got a thumbs up. There you go.
So I just need to figure out how to give back.
Oh, give it back to Joe. Yes.
Uh-oh.
If you just sign off, that would be good enough. It'll
Okay,
automatically
yeah,
come
that's
back
right.
to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I admit Barry and before?
No, just sign off first, because otherwise I'll have.
Okay, we'll
Okay,
see you
thank you.
soon. Take care.
Thank you so much. Take
Don't
care.
work too
Okay,
hard.
bye-bye.
You too.
Okay, where's
You
here?
ready for Barry?
Yep. There he is. Oh,
Black and white picture. You there, Barry? He's-
Yes, I'm here.
he's
Hi.
frozen. Oh, there he is.
There we go. It took a bit of time for
Hello.
everything to come up.
That's okay. So Barry, this is Barry O'Riordan, manager of the Economic Development Commission, and he has an update for us.
I do indeed. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me this evening. If it's okay with you, I'm going to share my screen and go through a presentation. Is that possible?
I think Joe has to make you the host. And we usually allow 10 minutes for a delegation, so I'll let you know when your time is coming to fruition. If we
Okay.
want to go further, we will.
Looks like I should have ability right now. And let me know when you can see my screen and I will get started here.
There we go. Yeah.
All good? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So here are the topics that we will cover today. First, we'll recap on the context of the EDC work plan. Next, we'll have a look at the broader economic landscape in the region, and then we'll provide an update on EDC activities. At EDC, our work is guided by both the EDC strategic plan as well as the CVRD corporate strategic plan. We're looking to embed reconciliation and a response to climate change in all of our work. And importantly, we seek to have our work informed by data. As we look at the regional economy a little closer, what do we see in 2021? Firstly, we see a region that's poised for trade. DP World recently signed a 50-year lease to expand Nanaimo's Duke Point terminal to increase options for global shipping. They provide a barge service to mainland BC's deep sea port, and they have container ship capacity for direct international shipments. At the same time, we're experiencing constrained industrial capacity, particularly for serviced industrial land, as identified in the Cowichan Industrial Land Use Strategy. OCP reviews are taking these concerns into consideration, and some industrial land is being opened up, particularly by First Nations, but the lack of lands continues to be a constraint on investment. Cowichan is facing a housing shortage, a construction boom, and several major infrastructure projects are in the works. Cowichan District Hospital at 887 million, Cowichan Secondary School at 82 million, and Duncan Cowichan RCMP detachment at 49 million. These projects are likely drivers of additional inward investment and may put pressure on the labor market. With COVID, businesses are still facing uncertainty and may be set for a somewhat bumpy recovery, dealing with legacy issues from the pandemic. Overall, though, business recovery is looking favorable. Trends emerging from COVID include a move towards remote work, increased densification of our urban cores, an acceleration of the role technology is playing in our lives, and an interest in shifting to a circular and regenerative economy. This slide serves to illustrate that Cowichan has a broadly diverse economy as well as a growing technology sector. On the left, you can see how the total number of businesses in Cowichan have changed over the course of the pandemic. Overall, the numbers remain constant while there have been winners and losers. In terms of employment, we're doing better than 2020, but still lagging behind 2019. EI claims in Cowichan remain high, around 3,400 versus about 1,500 in 2019. And at the same time, businesses are having difficulty finding workers, especially for minimum wage and service industry professionals. Housing. Benchmark housing prices in Cowichan have seen significant increases, increasing almost 20% in just 1 year, accelerating the regional housing crisis. The BC Real Estate Association reports that it would take approximately 2,500 new listings in its area to create a balanced housing market in the current conditions. They continue to advocate that we need to speed up the development process so that municipalities can expand supply more quickly to meet demand. For a more comprehensive look at the regional economy, please refer to the Cowichan Recovery Dashboard, which is available on the ED website as well as the EDC mailing list. So I recommend signing up to that for anyone interested. Moving on to EDC activities, here next is a brief overview of EDC activities as they relate to the EDC strategic plan. Firstly, business retention, expansion, attraction, to which we add response, recovery, and resilience. Here, EDC continues to support a buy local campaign that was initiated in 2020 by a group comprised of regional business support organizations. While this program is scaled back in 2021 with partner organizations refocusing on their core work, the relationships built will be the enduring legacy of this project. In July, we wrapped up the Couch and Food Innovation Program. With this program, EDC partnered with Spring Activator to provide opportunities for existing food businesses to pivot and for new entrepreneurs to thrive in Couchin. And what a fantastic group of entrepreneurs we have, with some representatives from Lake Couchin area as well. This past year, EDC has been providing free licensing opportunities for Couchin businesses to use the Island Good brand. On industrial land, we've been working behind the scenes to support investment decisions around the use of industrial land, as well as contributing to OCP processes. Earlier this year, EDC partnered with Project Zero and the Duncan Couchin Chamber of Commerce to host a circular economy lunch and learn. And to this, we're adding a few half-day workshops being planned for the fall. EDC is also supporting inward investment into the region, for example, by hosting a virtual tour of Couchin to BC USA trade and investment reps this past May. Within agriculture, following up on the food processing feasibility study, which was completed in early 2020, in late 2020, the dream of a Couchin food hub became solidified when the province supported a CVRD application for $750,000 in funding. This funding will now help the Couchin Green community to build a Couchin food hub. The CVRD has been supporting the BC Land Match program since 2018 and have recently renewed that commitment for additional 3 years. EDC staff sit on the BC Climate and Agriculture Initiative's Vancouver Island Oversight Committee. The CVRD has confirmed funding for a crop trials project on Vancouver Island, with this project to take place over the next 2 years. We continue to support the Island Ag Show, which was postponed in 2021, and we're hopeful that it'll return in 2022. Speaking of agriculture, the 2020 workshops in Ag Show held workshops to look at the potential contribution of cannabis to agriculture. And this year, EDC is digging a little deeper and is looking to gain a deeper insight into the local cannabis sector, both a legal and grey market. Looking forward, EDC is looking to embark on the first steps of a Couchin food security strategy in 2022. Moving on to tech, EDC continues to act on the recommendations coming out of the Couchin tech strategy. In 2020, we promoted an Innovation Island initiative, DER3, which supported companies wanting to move into the digital economy. Last November, again with Innovation Island, we hosted a workshop series called Couchin Talks Tech to support innovation in tech companies and to provide a glimpse to the broader public of where tech will be taking us in the years to come. Tech jobs are well paid. To support the local employment in the sector, EDC has been working with VIU and SD79, Couchin Tribes and others to develop a Made in Couchin tech training curriculum. And recognizing that tech sector development in some cases is best done at a Vancouver Island scale, this year we're collaborating with other region on a phase 2 of a Vancouver Island tech attraction project called techisland.io, which aims to attract global tech companies to Vancouver Island and establish Vancouver Island as a tech region. Of course, key to having a tech-enabled society is having accessible high-speed internet. EDC is gearing up to undertake a Couchin connectivity strategy in 2021 to help build a roadmap for better connectivity for the whole region. And looking forward, we'll continue to work supporting tech innovation within Couchin. On film, the Couchin Film Coordinator is working to attract film productions to the island and provide a seamless service for productions filming here. The film industry continues to play an important economic development role, with productions still taking place safely during the pandemic. This past year, some notable productions include Resident Alien, Ladysmith, and Super Pups and Duncan. And then this summer, EDC is working to update our Couchin image bank, and including developing media assets of our towns and villages, including Town of Lake Couchin. Malahat Nation continues to work towards the development of an ambitious project, the Malahat Film Studio Complex. This project is progressing with a feasibility study now underway. And if built, this studio complex will become a major economic driver for the whole region. As for tourism, with BC now in phase 3 of the restart plan, tourism opportunities are opening up and the industry is looking to recover. EDC continues to sit on the board of Tourism Cowichan, and Tourism Cowichan is now being supported by Tourism Vancouver Island to deliver tourism services within the region. And then the municipal and regional district tax plan is due for renewal later this year, and EDC sees sports tourism as a major growth opportunity. Lastly, but not least, sub-regional support. So we recognize that towns and village cores have been impacted in different ways by COVID, and that their recovery is key to the regional economic vitality, as well as a response to climate change. Think densification. Economic Development Cowichan was successful in a grant funding opportunity through the Island Coastal Economic Trust Rural Business and Community Recovery Program to support hiring of a part-time economic development analyst for up to 1 year. This hiring process is now complete, and we should have some in place by September. And once in place, this economic development analyst will look to support recovery in villages and towns in Cowichan. And that is all I have for you as an update right now. And thanks so much, and I welcome any questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. That was quite a report. Any questions from our councillors or comments? Councillor McGonigal.
Just a comment. This is the second time I've seen this. I was privy to this at the CBRD board as well. And there's some interesting projects that are in the works, especially the Malahath film studio complex. I think that would have overarching economic benefits to not only Cowichan Valley, but the island as a whole, if that does come to fruition. And I certainly support Malahat First Nation in this project. It'll be interesting to see what the feasibility study does suggest coming forward. They have had enormous success with the Skywalk. So to culminate that with a film studio as well would be an excellent economic driver, not only for the nation, but for the island as a whole. Thank you for all your work, Barry.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Sandu, anything? No? Well, thank you, Barry. That was good. You were actually at the perfect 10 minutes, I think, almost
Wow.
exactly. You had it worked out well.
I was planning for 12, so
Oh.
but something must have sped me up along the way. So thank you.
Maybe my thing was out. And thank you again. And we wait to see how things will improve now that COVID is, well, we think we're in the 4th phase now. We hope we're not, but we just hope things will improve in the next little while. And
Yeah, it's still a long road yet, I think, but we'll just have to see how it pans out. Thank you so much.
What happened to people that they say they can't find employees? What happened to all those employees? I watched the Victoria News and Vancouver and that too. Where did they go? I mean, are they just sitting at home on CERB, or is that finished? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think pre-pandemic employment was already top of the list in terms of issues for businesses with demographics and people retiring, etc. And now you have the pandemic, so not everyone is working, and some people are not willing to come back to the workforce yet. Others may have seen the volatility in terms of their work and have decided to go back, and they're getting work in different sectors, or they're going to get educated. So I think it's definitely a combination of a bunch of things. And I think affordability of housing is also another one. If you can't afford to live in the region, then you can't afford to take a job that's paying you $15 an hour or $16 an hour. You need to be earning $30 an hour, and you go to wherever you can do that, or wherever you can afford your lifestyle. So that's, I think, combination of all those things that we definitely need to tackle all of those together.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, Councillor McGonigal.
Just one more thing, if I may. I think locally, the Subats First Nation and their economic projects that they've been doing over the past 3 or 4 years have certainly enhanced the area in the west here. And I would think there would be some spin-off opportunities coming forward with some other projects that they do have in the works. So it'll be interesting to see how the complexities of employment would impact their future projects as well. So looking forward to some opportunities there.
Great.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank